Since it's really hard to see what's here, we'll go through with introductions. We'll open the meeting and we'll start with introductions. I'm Ron Onslow, a representative of Ridgefield. So
thank you. And Rebecca, would you mind just doing a roll call so we do the introductions, just so people can keep moving? Thank you.
Sorry about that. Let's go Cherish.
Cherish DeRocher, the City of Battleground.
David.
Dave Scott, City of West Schuylkill.
Jim.
Jim Hodges, City of Camas.
And we have guests, Jeff with Lifeline, Peggy Sheehan with the City of Vancouver, and Emily Lutz with the City of Battleground. And then for staff, I'm Rebecca Rice. Michael.
Michael Torres, Community Services.
Samantha.
Samantha Whitley, thank you.
And Janet.
And Janet is here.
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Okay, I'd accept the approval of the May 12, 2021 minutes.
I move we approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the May 10 minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That's 3. Come on, there's more here. Well, all those not in favor signify by saying no. And anybody abstaining. Okay, we will move on to the CAPR presentation. And it's on the thing that Samantha or Rebecca sent out. So who is going to do that? Is that you, Michael, or?
Yes, I will present, although I am very tempted to ask Sam to present just as a Sam Swan song. And we will get to updates on that soon. But so we are about to submit the 2020 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, or CAPR, for both CDBG and Home. It covers our 2020 program year outcomes. So it's the period of July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. It will be presented at the council hearing I think next week at 6 p.m., the afternoon one. So Sam and I will be there. Next slide, please. So what you can see, this is just the overview of our by funding source expenditures and what area they were spent in. Our CDBG entitlement for 2020 was $534,430. Our home entitlement or allocation was $515,803. We also received the CDBG COVID relief amount of $1,478,124. So the total funds that were available for expending in 2020 was $2,528,357.57. And the allocation and expenditure by activity type, out of that, $350,159.17 were allocated to affordable housing and homelessness. $1,180,126.87 was spent on public facilities and infrastructure. $761,095.63 were spent on asset and economic development. And administration took $236,975.90. So spending out, or the total of $2,528,357.57. And the pie chart gives you just a visual of a different way of looking at the proportions of the funds that were expended. The greatest proportion of the funds was in public facilities and infrastructure at 47%. Second was asset and economic development at 30% of the funds. Affordable housing took up 14% of the total funds expended, and admin is at 9%. Next slide, please. So looking at the outcomes by category with affordable housing and homelessness, most of this was in home tenant-based rental assistance, or TBRA. And if you recall, we allocated for every TBRA contract some CDBG funds to be used for case management of the households assisted with those TBRA funds, and 68 households were assisted. Although, we do want to take note that although 68 households were served with home funds, there were an additional 2,978 non-homeless households who have received rental assistance through, from Clark County using either state or federal Department of Treasury funds. So since August of 2020, there it says $19,500,348, and that was true at the time that we created the slide. But every week we are expending upwards between $800,000 and $1 million of financial assistance and rent and utility assistance. So as of right now, we are just over $23 million that have been distributed in Clark County for rent and utility assistance to over 3,000 households now. So it's been a very, very busy year. Next slide, please. So for 2020 asset and economic development outcomes, by source, we allocated $570,525 in CDBG funds and $190,570 in home funds. And that went to primarily homeowner housing rehab with 4 units rehab, but also some financial assistance to home buyers with 2. Well, and I said primarily housing rehab. Most of the COVID funds were used for asset and economic development in business assistance. If you recall the contracts that we had with Mercy Corps Northwest, primarily with the CDBG funds, but also with Fourth Plane Forward, which assisted a total of 254 businesses. Next slide, please. So in public facility and neighborhood improvements, we spent $1,180,126, and that was for the Battleground Healthcare, the new health clinic acquisition, rehab, and equipment purchase, utilizing for COVID response. And we anticipate that will be assisting 6,784 persons. Actually, that's the actual who the Battleground Health Clinic assisted during 2020, I'm sorry. So what we expect coming up for 2022 funding availability. And we do always want public input on what needed programs and projects are within our community. We are getting ready right now to open up the next request for applications for home and CDBG funds. So if there is any public that has input for what priorities should be in this funding round, please reach out to staff. The number that we'd like you to use is 564-397-7842, or you can email Samantha Whitley at samantha.whitley, WHITLEY@clark.wa.gov. The total funding that we are looking at is about $4 million, and that includes and these are estimates, all of them, of $1,500,000 for a CDBG allocation, $500,000 for our home allocation, and just over $2 million in the home ARP homeless response. That's American Rescue Plan home funds that are coming to Clark County. For the timeline of this request for applications, we anticipate applications opening October 1st of 2021, with applications due on December 3rd, 2021. Funding decisions will be made by this entity, the Urban County Policy Board, on March 14th, 2022, and we will be submitting the action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development on May 15th, 2022, which, once they approve it, we will be able to start opening contracts for the proposals that have been approved by the Urban County Policy Board and the Clark County Council. Next slide, please. So we have sent out notifications for the 2022 CDBG and home applications. Applications will be submitted through Neighborly. It is the same system, if you recall, that we started using last year to receive and score applications. Applicants are encouraged to participate in an online workshop so that we can go over application questions and program requirements with them. In 2022, we do expect approximately $2 million from HUD for community development and housing activities, and an additional $2 million to address homelessness, as I just went over in the last slide. So our application workshop for public facilities and neighborhood improvements will be on October 7th between 9 and 9:45, and that will be for proposals that involve streets, sidewalks, water, sewer improvements, neighborhood parks, community centers, or nonprofit facility construction or rehab. The workshop for affordable housing and homelessness will be same day, October 7th, between 10 and 10:45 a.m. And that's for proposals that deal with multifamily housing acquisition, construction or rehabilitation, and tenant-based rental assistance. And the workshop covering asset and economic development will be October 7th between 11 and 11:45 a.m. And those are for proposals that deal with single-family housing and business assistance programs. The links for the workshops, because these workshops will be online, I don't expect that you can read them off the slide that's in front of you, but we do have the links already published. They were part of the funding notification that was sent out, and those are the links that are on the slide. And we can also provide them separately upon request. Next slide, please. And Sam, do you want to go over this slide?
Sure. Yeah, these are two items that are for the Urban County Policy Board to take action on. So you might remember the New Heights Free Clinic. We talked to them in this last spring when we were working with Battleground Free Clinic, and they had they needed to get the zoning changed for a parcel on their property, on their campus. And the county only does that once a year. And so they were anticipating that they would have zoning approval in October. So I think that is still their schedule. I haven't checked in with them lately just because I know the zoning hearing hasn't happened yet, but we encouraged them that they could apply in October and get their pre-application in while they were waiting to hear on the zoning change. And the amount that they needed for their modular clinic was around $600,000. So we had talked about asking the Urban County Policy Board to approve a waiver of the maximum application limit just for this applicant.
So do we need to do?
So yes, I think that the ask is the approval so that we can apply those $600,000 in CDBG funding for for the modular clinic. And we are also, as an action, seeking approval from the Urban County Policy Board to increase the home funding application maximum from $400,000 to $750,000, so we can award the additional $2 million of ARP funds for homelessness during this round.
Michael, these are not funding decisions. These are application threshold decisions.
First one on the New Heights Free Clinic is a funding decision because we are applying existing CDBG funding in the amount of $600,000 to the clinic. The second one is a application threshold request. It's not a decision on funding going to proposals.
Okay, so the 600,000 not coming out of the 2022 bucket. It's coming out of an existing bucket, or
We could work it either way, but it would come out of the 2022 funding, and I thought that they would just request up to that amount, but that it would compete with the other applications that come in for 2022 funding.
okay, so then it would
If you
be.
want to award it now, that would also work for us. I just don't have all the details on their application yet.
So if we award it now, we're essentially sort of doing an award outside of our normal process for that estimated 1.5 million in CDBG funding, and we would reduce the available funding to 900,000.
Correct.
And what, I think you said this already, but just a reminder, what did we get last cycle? Was it about 1.5 million as well?
Yes.
Okay. But I mean, I think it's a worthy project, throw it out to the committee, but it might be a little squirrely to pre-award, if that's the right terminology, outside of the process, but we probably would have made the award if they had been ready previously.
Correct. And I think if there might be some slim chance that something falls through with the zoning and they're not ready to proceed. So that might be another reason why you just wait and let them submit their application. And then we'll know more about all the detail of the funding through Neighborly.
That makes sense to me. So then could one motion authorize an increase in the application thresholds for both of those scenarios?
Sure.
Okay, I would move that.
Second then?
I can't hear you, Ron. I don't know if you're muted or something. I'm not sure what's going on.
I didn't hear a finish to that sentence on a motion.
The motion would be to authorize an increase in the application thresholds for CDBG funding for the New Heights Clinic, and generally for all applicants in the home funding process.
From 400,000 to 750,000.
Right. In both cases, the amount shown here, 600 for CDBG and New Heights and 750 for all
Home.
And to award additional 2 million of our funds for homelessness.
Does that cover it, Michael?
Does, but we're having an internal debate right now on regarding quorum on whether the county counts or not, and if the county chair is just to break ties and not part of quorum. So what I think we would do, and Sam, why don't you break into this this discussion as well? Ron, because I think that if there is any question about quorum, we should definitely not move forward with any allocation of funds. I think the question of putting it into the RFA with application thresholds, I'd be a lot more comfortable with. And Sam, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. And it sounds like that's the motion
Yeah.
on the table right now. So
Correct. So
we can send out an email afterwards to ask if anybody has any qualms with the decision, just to make sure.
Okay, then then we would need a motion seeking to approve an application for up to 600,000 in CDBG funding for new modular clinic and approval to increase application maximum from 400 to 750,000
in home.
In home.
That was my motion.
Correct.
It was the thresholds, not awards.
Okay, is there a second?
I can second that.
And the name?
Jim
Jim.
Hodges. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Although, is there any other discussion on this? And all those in favor of this signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody else? Is there any abstentions or any noes? Okay, it passes. Thank you very much. And Sam, you can go on then.
Thank you. Before we go on, I passed on, went from agenda item 3 on the CAPER report and the update on the request for applications right into the action item that we just went over. And I just wanted to do a pause. And does anyone have any questions regarding the CAPER or the RFA that's coming up?
Yeah.
I had a question about, is there a pre-app this year? Just looking at the schedule, I didn't see a pre-app.
Correct. We didn't put it in there, but it is because really like the big, the big event and timeline wise is the RFA announcement, the final application submission. We do plan to still do a pre-app this year, correct, Sam? That's what we always, that's part of our process.
Yeah.
And I don't, Rebecca or Sam, do you remember what date we were looking at pre-app evaluation?
Pre-applications are due October 31st.
Which is Sunday.
Yes, but it's
Yes.
all electronic. So, and it's a super easy, pre-application as always. And as soon as you submit them, we will review them and turn them around so you can get as much time as possible to do the full application.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question before we move on to agenda 5? If they're not, this is just program updates. So as I alluded to when we were talking about the rental assistance provided in the county, we've been moving forward with what we call like, TRA, TRAP. That depends on whether we're talking a state contract or the direct allocation funds that the county is receiving directly from the Treasury Department. But they're really both part of the federal Treasury eviction rental assistance program. So what you'll read primarily in the papers nationally is ERA, eviction rental assistance. That's what this TRA and TRAP rental assistance is about. So since in the past 12 months, we've provided over $24 million now. It keeps going up week by week to 3,340 households. There are new appointments that just opened today at 9 a.m., 1,200 new slots for referrals were just made available. It is very, very possible that they have already closed during this meeting. I do not have that update yet, but the past 2 times that we have opened up applications and referral slots from households, they have filled up between 2 hours after opening to as little as 25 minutes after opening. It has been, they've gone incredibly fast. Other updates that are happening is earlier, late last year, the Vancouver Housing Authority, and we've briefed you on this earlier, but the Vancouver Housing Authority, with assistance from the City of Vancouver and Clark County, bought a motel near the Vancouver Mall that is called the Bertha Bosch Shelter, also known as Bertha's Place. Vancouver Housing Authority has been doing the necessary rehab and facility upgrades to be able to operate it as a shelter. Catholic Community Services of Southwest Washington is going to be the shelter operator. It is a 63 room non-congregate facility. It's actually going to be 62 rooms that are available for people experiencing homelessness, because I believe one of the rooms was converted into an office. But as of right now, we are expecting that the rehab work will be done around the middle of October, and the shelter may be opening as early as late October. Catholic Community Services of Southwest Washington is currently hiring staff for the shelter, and that's what's really going to be driving the timeline in terms of how fast they can operate. They can begin operations. Our update from Friday is they still anticipate that October will be feasible for them. And finally, I guess we wanted to announce, if you have not heard already, Sam Whitley is leaving us. She is going to the City of Vancouver to be their program manager for economic development. Basically, she's going to be running the CDBG and home programs for the City of Vancouver. So on one hand, we are extremely sad to see her go, but on the other hand, we are very, very happy for her and her family. And I think the City of Vancouver is going to, is taking, they're gaining an invaluable asset that I think will really, take them, keep them moving forward. And I know Peggy Sheehan is with us, and I think, the reason, Peggy Sheehan's retiring, so I guess I'll take advantage of this forum that we're talking about this right now, also to just, publicly thank Peggy for all the work that she's done with the City of Vancouver and Florida County, even before that, but even through her current role with the City of Vancouver for, Clark County and the city, and all the work that we've done together with Home and CDBG. So really, happy for you, Peggy. Wish you the best in the next stage. And Sam, City is really, really lucky to be getting you.
Thanks, Michael. It's been a pleasure.
Congratulations to both.
We are hiring for Sam's replacement. The position Friday. So, I think we are going to be distributing that link for people to eligible, qualified people to apply. And Sam, her start date is with City of Vancouver is November 1st. We are working hard to fill that position as soon as possible, so that we have as, either no gap or as little gap as possible. And any questions on that?
No questions, but just congrats to Peggy on retirement. It's been great working with you, Peggy, and congrats to Samantha. Guess you can't get rid of us, but it'll just be a little different.
Thank you.
This is like a tradition, right? Clark County program staff moved to Vancouver. It's like 2 in a row, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I actually worked with Samantha. I was on the hiring committee for Samantha 20 years ago.
Wow.
Time's flying by.
And yeah,
Mhm.
Sam has been with the county 20 years as well, which is pretty amazing.
Yes, it is.
Well, we're all jealous, Peggy.
Thanks, David.
Enjoy.
Hey, now listen, I'm retired, but
No, you're not.
Peggy
Doesn't-
doesn't mean you have to disappear.
Nope, nope, won't disappear.
I'm sure Sam appreciates all of the well wishes. Her mute is not working right now. We can't get it to work, so she is not able to talk at this time, which is why she is so quiet.
No,
You
I
guys-
did.
Oh, you got it. Yay.
Just in time
I
for
thought
the
you already
section
cut her
3
off.
update.
Sam, you want to take this next agenda item?
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody here know, because the small cities are always the ones who are doing our infrastructure projects, and this will apply to. HUD has changed the Section 3 rules. And so before, you just had to note if you hired anybody who was a Section 3 employee, which means that when they were hired on, they were low income based on the CDBG guidance. And so now now you can certify a worker as a Section 3 worker for 5 years, and then you track their hours. And this is for general contractors. So I don't know how they're going to get this message and start tracking this. Maybe some of them are savvy and will do it, but I feel like a lot of them are not. This is going to be a challenge. So for every project, they will have to start tracking the total labor hours. You can see in the example, there's 100 labor hours, and then they're supposed to meet at least 25% of the hours worked on the job as a Section 3 worker. And so if they have 25 hours and they met their 25%, the benchmark is met, yes. Then targeted Section 3 workers is somebody who is, first of all, is low income, and then second of all, lives near the project site, like within a 1 mile radius. And there's also, I think there's also, if they're a youth build graduate, or if they live in public housing, I think that, and I detailed it all in a memo, but I just wanted to give you a brief overview today. So that's what a targeted Section 3 laborer is. And their minimum number of hours per job is 5%. So I use the example to show if you only have 4 hours on a total of 100 hours worked, then it's 4% and your benchmark is not met. So I'm anticipating that none of our benchmarks will be met for any of our projects. I hope I'm wrong. But so if you do not meet either of those benchmarks, then you have to tell us, or the general contractor will have to tell us how they attempted to meet the benchmarks. And you can see the list of ideas or options that HUD will take. So they can do additional outreach, they can do on-the-job training, they can do technical training, or try to make sure that they offer the bids to Section 3 businesses. And so this is just for projects over 200,000. And it'll be so I anticipate that mostly that'll be the general contractor's responsibility. If they sub work out, that is, if they've subbed out additional 200,000, if a sub receives over 200,000, they would also have to report on the Section 3. But I am guessing that most of the time we're not going to meet the benchmarks, and then we'll have to report on the qualitative efforts that we've taken. So we'll put out more guidance, and we will, this will be part of our pre-construction conference. We'll try to help people get up to speed on what these new requirements are, and then we will just report to HUD on how we are attempting to meet them. Anybody have any questions on that?
Sam, just to clarify, so it's not a 200K award, it's 200,000 total construction project cost, is that right?
It's federal fund, 200,000 in federal funding.
Oh, okay, so it is award based.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Sam, does this apply to prior awards where we haven't done the project yet, or is this prospective?
Well, supposed to start last November, and they started, they updated our database where we put all of our funding, our IDIS information in and draw down funding from HUD. They've started, we're going to do all the reporting through that on a project by project basis. So we've started inputting some of this stuff. You know, we do outreach efforts as a county, and we have HUD canceled the webinar that I was going to attend that would provide more detail. I think we can count that we are offering job training as a county through some of our other community action funds, and I think we can use that for anybody that hasn't taken any other efforts. We'll feel it out as we go, and I will eventually get to see the recorded webinar and kind of see how they expect us to address some of this. I'm not 100% clear on it yet.
But it's real time then. It's happening in real time
Yes.
for everything we're currently doing. Okay, thank you.
Can you guys see the quarterly reports? I was waiting for Rebecca to start presenting on the quarterly reports.
I was waiting to see if there were any additional questions for section 3 before I moved on. So we're all being very polite today. So here are the April through June quarterly reports, and I'll just kind of run through these pretty quickly. The Battleground project has hired and selected their general contractor. Construction will be starting. This again is April through June, so things have progressed since this report. The Southeast Clark Avenue Battleground project, Sam has completed the environmental review for the project. The Camas Northwest 12th project, this is actually fully constructed now, and they were waiting on documentation. There's quite a bit of missing documentation. However, the prime contractor had an unexpected death with the person that oversees all of the documentation and certified payroll. So had to switch over to a new person, and I'm working with them. So hopefully I'll have some updated documentation and we can get this project closed out soon. The Ridgefield Simon Street project, the environmental review is underway. They've been focusing on some other projects that are taking priority in the city. So this project has been kind of pushed back in their schedule, but we'll be working forward to getting that project going.
I just got a email. I don't know how to go back out of this and into it, but about their progress. So there is some progress on that. I'll find out and have them update you on that.
Yeah, I know that I've been working with Brenda, and she's been keeping me updated on it. I've sent her information that I need to be able to do the environmental review, and so I'm just waiting for that information to come back. But I think she was also waiting for some design aspects to get done. So the project is moving, but I know that there's been delays on that one.
Thank you.
Camas Northeast 2nd Avenue project was awarded funding. I have not started working on the environmental review for that project yet. And then the Washougal Hamlet Park project, the environmental review has been completed and that project is moving forward. Under social services, the Share House Elevator project, this has been an ongoing issue. This project is a couple of years old. We had some disputes with labor and industries on some of the things that were going on with this project, which delayed it. Then there were, now we're trying to work with some of the subcontractors on there that are not familiar with federal funds and how to complete the proper documentation for it. They've also had somebody go out on medical leave for, I believe it was a hip replacement. So they're out for a few weeks before they can, we'll be back in the office to then finalize some of the documentation. The project has been officially completed as far as the construction side. It's more now on the documentation side. The Washougal Social Service Building, the contract has been executed, and hopefully that project will be starting soon. They've been waiting for some state funding to go into that project to make it a complete project. The Lifeline Connection Mother's Recovery House was awarded funding, and that project has not moved forward quite yet. Next slide. So looking at the, oh, one too many. Looking at the affordable housing, can we go back one? Or I can go over this one.
My computer is really slow. I click, and then I backed it up. And so I'm sorry that it's such a delay, but do you have up asset and economic development now?
I can do that, yes. And then we'll go back to the previous one. So asset and economic development, we have the Hispanic Metropolitan Chamber of Business Technical Assistance. They've assisted 7 businesses and that have received assistance, and then 50 businesses currently total getting, so 7 new ones and 50 total. Mercy Corps with their small business development technical assistance, that program is underway, and they've developed the RISE program to expand virtual learning options. Proud Ground with the home ownership, they have a new home buyer that's qualified and looking for housing, and then 2 grants are still available. They're looking for applicants to complete that grant. And then we have the next awards that haven't started yet. They'll start January 1st. Okay, back to affordable housing and homelessness. The second step housing acquisition project, which includes Neils Lane, that the acquisition closed in July, so after the end of this reporting time, but they are moving that project forward. The VBT grant building Boulevard new construction of 26 affordable housing. The construction is underway. If any of you ever drive on Grand, you'll drive right past it and see all of the construction going on when you go up and over the hill. The Mercy Housing project to construct 70 affordable family units. They've gotten the building permits issued, and they've scheduled or selected their general contractor, so that construction will start soon. And then there's the Vancouver Housing Authority Central Park Place rehab, and that the environmental review is complete. The contract and the legal documents are drafted. And then looking at tenant-based rental assistance, all of the programs are moving forward. We have 3 that are working with 2020 funds. That's Janus Youth, Lifeline, and Share. And then as of the last funding round, they'll get new funding that will start January 1st, 2022. So those programs will continue to move forward, helping the tenants with rental assistance. I'm not sure if there's one more slide. There we go. COVID response. So this is the specific COVID dollars that we allocated out to the several different programs. There's the Mercy Corps Micro Enterprise Grants, and they provided grants to 187 small businesses. The Hispanic Chamber did business technical assistance. The program is still underway, and they've added 4 new business owners to start up. The Mercy Corps COVID business technical assistance, they're doing one-on-one business counseling. They have 3 new clients served. And then we have the 3 tenant-based rental assistance programs that received additional case management. We did this because we knew that the households would need to stay in the housing longer than anticipated because of no movement in the housing industry, and most likely many of them lost their employment prospects. And so they would need additional case management and time in the program. And then we've talked lots about the Battleground Healthcare Clinic, and so that is moving forward. Any questions about the quarterly reports? Fantastic.
I will just add really quick that Battleground Healthcare is seeing patients at their new office, and they are going to be they're going to be setting up a big grand opening event in October, and I'm sure the board will be invited to that.
Okay, moving on.
Thank you. And so before we go into public comment, Sam, do you want to talk about the timeliness requirements with HUD?
Well, actually, this was on my slide from the last meeting, and I thought, yes, I'm going to leave that on there and remind them always of timeliness, because we really did get behind when we've been spending all this COVID money, and so we need to spend down our entitlement CDBG funds and get our timeliness back on track. They check it in March of each month, of each year, and so we will be tracking it. And I know we will not get in trouble if we don't meet it. I don't know that we'll be on track to meet it. We'll be checking it out and updating you on that.
Thank you. And this last part is we need to make some space available at our meeting in case there's any public comment or question for the home and CDBG programs.
Okay, is there any public comment that comes through on your, I'm assuming, computer? I haven't seen any that has come up here, so do you have any?
We have not received any. And is there anyone on the line that has not identified themselves yet, or that we cannot see that's called in or is listening that has any comment? Okay, I think we are safe to move on. So as a reminder, our next Urban County Policy Board meeting will be next month, October 11th, if it's needed. At this point in time, I do not anticipate that to be the case, but we will let you know as soon as possible if there are any circumstances that change that make us think that we need to have the UCPB convene for an action item. Any questions?
Any questions, anybody at this meeting? Let's put it that way. I don't see anybody raising their hands. I don't see any chat. So the one November 8th, you have a November 8th at the bottom of your agenda, next meeting November 8th, but that's is that a possibility also?
We have the meetings reserved on our calendars for the second Monday of every month, and then we generally cancel them if we don't need them, but we send you a reminder and a kind of an update each month on whether we need to have a meeting or not. That is my mistake that your agenda says that next meeting is in November. I kind of anticipate that maybe December, when we have all the final applications in, we'll convene the board and review all the applications that we've received. So neither October or November, sorry about that.
Correct. I would anticipate December, just as Sam described, well, along with a neighborly refresher to help you get ready to review and score applications. But unless something changes, if we get some breaking news on funding or decisions that need to be made, I do not expect we will need to meet in October or November.
Okay. Any questions on that? Anybody? Seeing none, I would assume that we are finished with our meeting. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. It's still difficult on the Zoom, but it works. So Peggy and Samantha, good luck on all your new activities. So
Thanks,
this
Ron.
meeting is adjourned.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.